I'm in Beaune at Domaine Chanson with their Directeur General, Gilles de Courcel. Gilles, if you could tell us a little bit about Chanson, please, about the history and about your involvement.
Yes, so we are here in the cellars of the Bastion, which is where Chanson started back in 1750. And this is one of the largest tower of the wall surrounding the town of Beaune, and which is very convenient for maturing fine wines from Burgundy. So the history, dates from a little more than 250 years, and since 1999, Chanson has become part of Bollinger. It was acquired at the time. I personally joined Chanson just after the acquisition by Bollinger to look after the domain and to look after the vinification of the wines that we produce here in Burgundy. The domain of 45 hectares, located in the best areas of Beaune, Premier Cru, Pernon-Vergelès, Savigny, Corton, Puligny-Montrachet, Chassagne-Montrachet. So quite a big domain of very fine cru classés. And we vinify also in this cellar many wines from contract growers that we work with a very close associations in the best areas of Gevrey-Chambertin, Nuits-Saint-Georges, Meursault, and all the major fine villages of Burgundy.
And Gilles, Chanson is famous for a very pure, very delicate style of wine. What do you do? How do you make the wine here? What's different about what you do?
Yes,
here?
I mean the philosophy here about making wines is being very natural in the way we make the wines. Very natural means we need, of course, to start in the vineyard. The first major element of making good wines is growing very good, healthy grapes. And the key, of course, is to get the best maturation of the grapes, harvest at the right, appropriate time. And for that, we make surveys before the harvest, very close surveys of each plot of vineyards in order to decide how we will start the harvest. And then, the way we process the grapes in a winery is that, first of all, we sort out our grapes.
And do you sort here or in the vineyard?
We sort here at the winery.
Okay.
At the winery we have two sorting tables, 20 people around the sorting tables to really sorting the different grapes, putting aside the eventually rotten grape that we could have, and that allows us to put in the vat only the very healthy and mature grapes. And very important for the red wines, we vinify our white wines with full cluster of grapes, which means that where the grapes go directly into the vat, starting a period of cold maceration during approximately 10 days, and then start slowly allowing an elevation of temperature where the actual fermentation would start. And it's a long process of fermentation which allows us to keep the grapes into the vat for a period of more than 1 month. And that helps really getting the maximum of the aromas of the grapes, particularly the fresh fruit aromas that we imprison into the wines, and that will be later into the bottle.
I mean, it's a hallmark, isn't it, of the Chanson style, that they have these beautiful noses, very lifted, very perfumed.
Yes, I think the most important point that we are looking for is purity. So all the perfumes that come out from the grapes, and these perfumes there are two sides of it. First, and one of the most important one is the terroir. The terroir itself, the minerality of the terroir, which is very typical of Burgundy, is one of the key elements that we have to show in our bottles. And each of our wines, I think, reflect the very typical typicity of each individual terroir. You can see that in the Clos des Mouches, in the Clos des Fèves, in the Corton Vergène, each of them will reflect the true nature of the terroir. Plus, of course, all the traditional aromas that you expect from Pinot and the Pinot Noir, the black fruit aromas, red fruit aromas, and it's a combination of all these aromas that makes the complexity of our wines.
So do you think by doing this very long, slow fermentation, you really capture the essence of each of the vineyards?
You want to show the origin where the grapes have been grown. One of our wines particularly is very, it's a symbol about this. It's our Pernod Vergelès Premier Cru Les Caradeux. It's on the hill opposite to the Corton Charlemagne, a very stony kind of slopes where we express all the minerality, the stony character, the iolic style of the wines, which is showing so well into the bottle.